So let's get started. Good morning, good evening, Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe, everybody.
Yes, Shyamji, you can do the
Yes.
honors. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Radhe, everybody. Welcome to the session of daily session from Bhagavad Gita. Nitin Bhai is here with all his enthusiasm and all his new content. So let's all welcome him. Radhe, Radhe.
That's a lot of pressure, Shyamji, you have put on me. So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We will continue on our discussion on chapter 4, verse 10 that we started off yesterday. We will build on that discussion and pick up an additional concept. Again, like all the other concepts, it's an important concept. So let's get started with our opening prayers, and then I'll tee it up a little bit before we get into the session. All right, so let me share my screen and we will get underway. All right. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's get to our shloka. Verse 10, chapter 4 is what we are doing. I'll recite it, then you are welcome to follow. Just wanted to let you know, today we are going to discuss what is the one and only agenda of life, human life. We'll revisit that. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of it. Always helps to a reminder on that. What can help us achieve this agenda? We will introduce that concept as well. Sure. And then, is it something that can be stolen or snatched? When we need something from someone, there are multiple ways we have. We can put a gunpoint on the head and say, give it to me, or we can go and steal it, or we can overpower somebody and gain that thing. That's how it happens in the physical world, material world, right? When we need something and we know that that something is really important to us, there are ways we can actually get it, and we will get into this concept as well today. So before that, let me get into the shloka itself, and you're welcome to follow. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa bhuputa madbhavamagataha. Right.
Radhe, Radhe. We have Ashutosh ji. Radhe, Radhe, Ashutosh ji.
Ashutosh, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मापुपाश्रिता बहवो ज्ञान तपसा भूता मद्भावमागता.
Very nice. Ashutoshi, your surroundings have changed today. You seem to be in a monk's attire today. So very nice. All
I'm
right.
at home actually.
Okay. All right.
Dinesh ji, Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashrita bahavo gnana tapasa puta madbhava magata. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much.
Suresh ji, Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe.
वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
Very nice, Sumeshji. Sumeshji has been very regular in our sessions. I think right from day one, if I remember it correctly. Is that right, Sumeshji? I think around about the same time. All right, let's move on. We'll pick up a few more participants.
Abhya ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिता बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावम् आगता.
So, Bhavo Gyan Tapasa Puta Mad Bhava Magata. So, very nice. Good, Sandhya. Very nice. All right, let's take a few more.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे वीतराग भये क्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Pagiji. We can take maybe 2 or 3 more and then we'll get started.
Okay. Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Anji, Radhe Radhe.
Samji.
Vitrag bhaya krodha manmaya mamupasita bahvo jnana tapsa uta madbhavam bhagata bhavam bhavamagata. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Surinder ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे प्रभु, थैंक यू.
Radhe Radhe.
वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया मामुपाश्रिता बहवो ज्ञानतापसा पूता मद्भावमागताः.
Right. We'll take 2 more and we'll get started then.
Okay. Supa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
वीतराग भया क्रोधा मन्मया माम् उपाश्रिता बहवो ज्ञानतपसा बहवो ज्ञानतपसा पूता मद्भावम् आगतः.
Bhavamagata. Very nice, Rupaji. All right, last one and then we'll get started.
Uday Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mam Upashritaha Bahavo Jnana Tapasa Puta Madbhavam Agataha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Udeji. So we'll get started. We have some content to cover and then we have a wonderful presentation coming up as well. Journaling. On journaling, I'm looking forward to that in person. So let's get started.
Journaling.
Veet, freed from raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, krodha, anger, matmaya, completely absorbed in me, mam, in me, upashrita, taking refuge, bahava, many persons, jnana, of knowledge, tapasa, by the fire of knowledge, puta, purified, mat bhavam, my divine love, agata, attained. Short translation for this goes like being freed from attachment, fear and anger, becoming fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me and thus they attained my divine love. So God actually is giving, during multiple verses, he's actually tackling it from different perspectives. Yesterday we saw 2.14 is talking about a similar concept. We're going to revisit that as well. Chapter 12, verse 17 also talks on similar lines as well when God says, na hrishyati, na dveshati, na shochati, na kankshati. The person who doesn't lament or crave hanker for things and who is very dear to me. So when we start moving towards that equality, the middle of the pendulum, that's when we start earning endearment to God more. He says that's dear to me. So the creator is saying, that person starts becoming dear to me. It's a huge thing, right? To become dear to God. So to gain that eligibility that's where we need to start getting at understanding, some of these things which we tend to ride more often than not. Some of these emotions like attachment, fear, and anger, which is the conditioned symptoms of a conditioned soul. So let's get started. Like I said, we are going to tackle some of these aspects today. Um, let's build on that. So yesterday we spoke about, let's do a quick recap, how repetitive thoughts they lead to attachment, formation of these neural channels, right? That are formed, neurons that fire together, they wire together. So that becomes our mindsets. And then it leads to greed or anger. And also one of the consequence of that is fear. There's an apprehension that whatever we are really attached to, we will lose it or it might get snatched away from us. That is what fear is all about. And then attachment is the root cause of mind getting dirty. And that's what we are going to focus on today. And also get into what is the technology provided by our scriptures to actually cleanse our mind or prevent it from getting dirty. Also, attachment has other two aspects, which is rag and dvesh, which our scriptures say is something that dirties our mind as well. So they are all interrelated concepts if you look at it. Right? Hankering and aversion arises from rag and dvesh as well, and you can actually map the hankering to greed and aversion to anger as well. You want to avoid something, some person, some object, some situation, and then if you're not able to avoid, or if your object of desire gets impeded, there's an obstruction, then the anger comes. And whatever we hanker for is it gives us a temporary relief or temporary happiness, and then it comes back with redoubled intensity and it continues, right? And that's where we spoke about the concept that it's not the greed aspect of it, but the very tendency of humans to grow, become bigger, is actually, I think there's some disturbance. If you can put yourself on mute, not talking, that'll be nice. Okay. So this tendency is actually born out of the Rajas Gun, which propels the humanity forward as well. So all the development that is happening, new innovations that are happening, it is driven by the innate desire for us to become better. But when that desire to become better gets converted into greed, is something that we need to be watchful for. And that is where we said even the economic cycles, it's a cyclical process. When extreme materialism happens, greed takes over, corporates, they start, catering to their interests alone, then people lose interest in that. And then that whole philosophy is rejected, and the world, it starts moving towards more communist, socialist kind of a construct. And when that happens, then people become complacent, sense of entitlement, and then again the meritocracy is promoted, and then the cycle keeps on repeating, because every cycle in conceptually is good, but then it's the human greed or the human complacency, laziness, which makes it imperfect. So hitting that sweet spot is always the challenge, and hitting that sweet spot is what spirituality is all about. Even in our emotions, God is telling us to hit that sweet spot. Okay, don't go there too far, don't go here too far. Just be situated, understanding everything is temporary and seeing things in perspective. So we had a good discussion on this topic yesterday. And it again goes back to 2.15 that we have spoken about, where Lord Krishna is saying that happiness is distressed, going to one extreme or the other. Is basically when we go to one extreme, you are actually preparing yourself to go to the other extreme as well. So the lesser the amplitude, the better off you are, right? So extremes are not good. So we need to be mindful when we get super excited or when we get super depressed. Both of the emotions have to be rejected with proper perspective. Be situated in peace, and that will give you more joy. It doesn't mean that you become nearest, insipid, or boring or dull. No, that doesn't mean that. It's just that you are situated and you have that contentment, peace, joy that you're feeling, and it's not an agitated state of mind, artificial state that you create. Your emotions, they create, and then finally you have to anyway come down to that state. It's not a natural state for us, right? So when people take some intoxication or do anything, they may think they're feeling happy, but actually it is called an agitated state of mind. Scripturally speaking, it is an agitated state of mind that we confuse for happiness. All right, so now let's get into the deeper topic here. Now, how do we get over our lower nature? So these emotions that we are talking about, they're actually driven through our lower nature. And then we have two kinds of natures. We have a lower nature and we have a higher nature as well. Now today we are going to talk about how do we get to our higher nature. We cater to our lower nature because our mind is conditioned, mind is impure, and that impurity or the dirt of the mind is not a one lifetime deed. This dirt has been accumulated over lifetimes. And even if we, let's say, indulge in practices, thoughts, activities which enables our higher nature, for example, some creative work or charity or helping or having positive thoughts or having noble thoughts, if we do it occasionally, and for most part, we are catering to our lower nature, it is called like Kunjar Shachavat, our scriptural, right? Kunjar Shachavat means like an elephant which goes and takes a bath, cleanses, purifies itself. However, immediately after that, it puts mud on top of it, dust on top of it. Now, why it does that? I don't know. I don't think any psychologist have cracked it as yet, but we do the same. So when we indulge in our lower nature for most part of our day or most part of our life, we are actually doing Kunjar Shachvat only. It's like, all right, I had some kind of an, moments where I invested my time wisely or invoked that higher nature, those positive thoughts, but it has to be sustained and made a way of our life or a mindset for us to really start reaping benefits from it. Now, how do we get over our lower nature? All that is fine, but what is the technology, so to say? Let's get into that. Technology is purifying the mind. Anything and everything that we want to accomplish in this life, the buck stops at purifying the mind. Okay, if you say, I don't feel happy, purify your mind. If you say that I don't get more of positive thoughts and other things, purify the mind. If we think we are not able to put our mind to God or to spiritual topics, purify the mind. Antakaran Shuddhi is the only agenda of life. So human life is bestowed upon us so that we can use this discriminating faculty called intellect to actually cleanse this mind. And how do we purify our mind? How do we purify our mind? It is like our mind is equated to a soiled, if mind was a cloth, then that cloth would be very, very old and very, very dirty. So when we put the clothes in laundry, we know that those are dirty cloths. So their mind is like that dirty cloth. And how do we clean this dirty cloth? By applying detergent to it. And what is the detergent for our mind in that case? Because our mind is like a cloth. Now the detergent for our mind is it the material world? Our mind senses, basically the mind is the governor of our senses. All of our senses reside in subtle form in our mind. The testimony or the proof of that is when we are dreaming, our senses are not active and still we are able to see, touch, feel, all that stuff happens. That means our mind is actually the governor of the senses, and all the senses, they reside in subtle form in our mind. And that is something which carries from lifetime to lifetime along with our soul. So there are really two areas for our mind. We spoke about our mind being a dirty, old, dirty cloth. That is what our scriptures tell us. Now, what makes it old? Old, we understand, we are the same age as God. So we have taken infinite births. That's why we are old. Okay, in this life, we can look at our biological age, but spiritual age, we are as old as God is. What makes it dirty? There are really two areas if you look at it. First is the material world, which encompasses everything around us. And the second one is the divine world, which we don't have access to right now at present. Other than, of course, just thinking about it, reading about it, trying to understand as best as we possibly can. Is there any third area? There is not. We cannot put our mind in pending, that my mind is neither in God nor in world. Not possible. Some people say, no, I'm not able to focus on God, but I'm not even able to focus on, my mind is neither in world nor in God. Not possible. It is either in world or in God. There is no third area. Because there is no third area. Now, if we talk about the material world, the Maya Triguni Maya, right? Lord Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita that it is Triguni Maya. It is tainted with three colors. It's a tricolored Maya. Anything and everything in this world is born out of these three gunas. Us, any object, any personality that we idolize, emulate, or want to emulate will have these three gunas or three compositions around it. And on the other hand, God is called all pure. All pure. It's like fire. When you put garbage to fire, does fire become garbage? No, the garbage becomes pure. When the rivers or the drains, they empty themselves into Ganges, does Ganges become drains? No, the drain become Ganges. So that is what it means when you empty your mind or dovetail it or direct it towards God. Whatever thoughts are there, you start tying it to God's feet. Just tie it all up together and put it at God's feet, or start bringing God into the equation. We'll talk about some of the techniques around it. But when you start bringing God into the mix, that is the only thing which is pure. And by the way, God has extended it to his Parikar saints, Gun Naam, Leela Dham as well, just to make it easy for us. And that is why he takes dissension. We've spoken about that concept. But the one area where our mind can go is tricolored, which is not pure, and the other area is pure. So if we want to cleanse something which is already dirty, because it has always contemplated on world or worldly subjects, right, related to our relatives, relations, and the wrongdoings that we have experienced, or only if this could have been, all that stuff that is still operating in this mic world. That means it is going to leave its imprints, tricolored imprints on our mind based on that object that you are contemplating upon. So if you're contemplating upon a person who has wronged you, and that person primarily operates in tamas, then you are acquiring tamas in your mind. That is how it works. Okay, this is the law of universe. It's not good actually, but this is how it goes. So whatever is the object of our contemplation, that color our mind starts acquiring. So it's a very deep concept to understand. If it is a person who operates in sattva, you are doing yourself a favor thinking about that person. If it is a person who is very action oriented, like a lot of executives, entrepreneurs, people get impressed by them. Wow, what a dynamic person. Yeah, your mind will get more of rajas attributes. And if you're getting impressed by somebody, forget about impressed. Rag, dvesh, both leave the same imprint. Whether it's in loving sentiment or it is in a hatred sentiment, your mind will acquire the same guna. So let's say you hate somebody and you keep dwelling upon their faults. They did that, this wrong, that wrong. This person is like that, hopeless. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're actually focusing on their negative qualities. And if they are in tamasic range, your mind is acquiring those qualities as well. So you got to be really careful about tending to the thoughts we are putting in our mind, especially when you are harboring hatred, resentment towards somebody. Forget about that person. Okay, law of karma will anyway dictate if they have truly done something wrong. What you are doing to yourself is of paramount importance, because in the process you're actually tainting your mind. Because no matter who that person is, if you are dwelling upon the negativities, those negativities will start coming in you as well. And because of this repeated practice that we have gotten attuned to since time immemorial, our mind has become tricolored or dirty. So the process of cleaning something dirty is very simple. You apply something which is pure. What is pure? God. God is pure. But the problem with us is we do get inspired. We do spend time in things, noble pursuits or spiritual pursuits, but then we don't sustain it long enough. So it's like earning $50 a day and spending $5,000. Net, it is still minus 4,500, right? It's a very simple arithmetic. And that is what our scriptures called Kunjar Shachvat, Hathi Snan. You take bath, which is good. We do puja or whatever in the morning, but rest of the day is thinking about the world. That whole thing is this person, how do I deal with it? This is my boss. So all that stuff is actually tainting, coloring our mind. So let's continue on this. So tainting and coloring our mind. Yesterday, let me discuss. So this divine attachment will not degrade our mind like material attachment. It will purify it. It will leave its impact. God is all pure, and then for our benefit, He has made more things accessible to us. From time to time, He sends the God realized saints, and also when He descends, He leaves His name, Naam, Roop, Gun, Leela, Dham for our benefit. So this is an area which if you keep applying to your mind, that is why when we immerse in kirtans, when we do Roop Dhyan, all these practices actually have a cleansing effect. On the contrary, everything else in this world, no matter who it is, however dynamic that person might be, right? These days, people get impressed with people like entrepreneurs and they're doing great. That is fine. You might be focusing on the rajas aspect of it, but it is still within the mic realm. Yesterday, I think this topic came up on Narendra Modi. So let's talk about it a little bit. So our mind, like I said, it cannot stay in pending. It has to be in one of these two realms. One is the material realm, where we are thinking about our family, our pet, our kid, our wife, house, objects, all that stuff, grandparents, and all that stuff. So this has to be in one of these three domains. Tamas, Rajas, or Sattva. This is tainted with Gunamai Maya. Lord Krishna is saying, my Gunamai Maya, the three gunas of this Maya. Or the other area is you think about or invest time in reading Bhagavad Gita like we're doing right now, listening to some lecture, contemplating upon that knowledge, following the instruction of your guru. This is called Gunatit. This transcends all the three gunas. Now, however great a personality might be, right? We see so many people that we get inspired from in this world. It could be somebody in your office. It could be some leader, like we spoke about Modi. Now, if we do that, unless that person is a saint, we are still capping the potential that we truly had. You are still limiting your potential because that person is not God realized. So no matter how noble, how great, how dynamic that person is, it is still tainted with Gunamai Maya. So you are actually limiting your potential there as well. And the simple rule is whatever object of contemplation, whatever we contemplate upon is what we end up getting. And if we have contemplated upon one of these three gunas, or all the three gunas, as this mic world is, then we get mic world. It's a very simple case. We have prepared the business case for ourselves. What do we want to become in our next life? And that is why I wanted to have that discussion. We couldn't do that yesterday. Thought by thought, we are actually forging our destiny. So if we say that we are born in a certain family, we are in certain circumstances, we got a certain kind of relative, spouse, all that stuff is something, it's our own calling only. We are the authors of our destiny, and that writing, that script is actually written by nothing other than our own mind. And that is why it's important to improve the quality of that mind, because the thoughts that come in our mind, it's like a factory, right? 40,000 or some thoughts are generated on de facto. Now the quality of that thoughts, now one part of it is having a sakshi bhav, becoming mindful. Okay, this thought is coming. Do I really need to surf it? Okay, if I'm surfing it for more than 13 seconds, that means I made a choice to surf it because I'm enjoying it, or I just want to do it. That is a sakshi bhav. The other aspect of it, you improve the breeding ground for thoughts itself, right? We don't have control over the thought that your mind is generating, because it is going to do its job. Depending upon its purity, it's going to generate a certain kind of a thought or a thought pattern. But then if we start improving the quality of our mind, the thoughts itself will start becoming very productive. Then we can, that sakshi bhav will not have to do a lot of minding of the mind. And how do we improve the quality of our mind? By attaching it to something which is truly pure. And those pure things are God himself, his leelas, reading about divine scriptures like we're doing right now, contemplating on these topics, trying to practice it in life, following the injunctions of what our scriptures saying, following the injunctions of what our guru is telling, right? This technology is not a way, something that we can crack on our own, we can ace on our own. So that purification of mind is something that through the expert guidance of guru, it can happen, but through our self-effort, we can achieve up to a certain level. And that's what we are going to talk about. The key ingredient in this process, when we start engaging our mind to something gunatit, is one part of it is the self-effort that we are doing. It is very, very important, right? Like we spoke about that story. God said, you take one step, I'll take the remaining 4,630 steps. That first step is the preparatory stage that we have to do. It has to come through our own volition, through our free will, that yes, I want to do that because it is important. However, that is not good enough. Okay, so antakaran, we said the only agenda of life is antakaran shuddhi. So if you look at your antakaran, it is impure. Let's say it's in this state. So gradually we have to keep on purifying it, continue to purify it until it becomes completely purified. Okay, and this is the sovereign recipe, so to say. Our scriptures are telling us to cleanse the mind from defects of lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion by detaching it from world and attaching it to something which is all pure. When we do that, is it good enough? No. There is another aspect to it. We need something else as well. What is that? We need God's grace. So this is a preparatory stage when we start attaching our mind to God to cleanse it. But in order to complete that process, or in order for it to fructify, we need God's grace. Now, God's grace, God has that grace. Now, if it was something material and we really need it for our benefit, how do we do that? Is it something that we can, how do we get something in this world? We can rob it, go and steal it from God, that, okay, I need your grace. Is it doable? No, we cannot steal it from God. God is all powerful, right? Can we snatch it? Like you can see, we can actually snatch it by force or by a gunpoint, that, okay, I deserve it, can you give it to me? We can't do that. God, we know, right? God can lift Govardhan hill through his small finger. Snatching is also not an option. What option do we really have in that case to draw God's grace? So there are two aspects to it. One is the preparatory stage, where we can start putting in our efforts to attach our mind to something all pure. And then when God's, because he's seated within us, he looks at our sincerity, then he starts bestowing his grace. And through both, then this process starts going from step to step to step. And then, there are different stages to it. But this is something which is so important, and we really don't have an option to forcefully get it from God. So what is the third option then? How much time do we have? We can have a quick discussion before we get into, and the other aspect of it is, yes, I can see Shamji and raised.
We have had so Sashiji, please go ahead.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, we can beg to God to give it to us.
Yeah, the third way, beautiful point. Yeah. So one is, yeah, let's hear. I can see a couple of other participants. So either we can apply force if we have that, or we can request or beg. That is another option to get something that we need for sure. Yes, Samji and Ashutoshi, you wanted to add something? Thank you so much, Shashiji. Beautiful point. Yeah, please go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself. Shamji, you can call upon. I can see a few hands.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Actually, I have a question. Actually, this means like Kusang you have said earlier, means I know that while doing Kusang,
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So I know that Kusang is not good, but still when it happens, when I step out of my home, actually, basically, if I'm in home cutting drum work, it is okay. But as soon as I go outside of home, means with friends or something like, means someone, anything, I know that I'm doing wrong, but still I'm doing. How to control myself there?
I know you're talking like Duryodhan said, not that I'm telling you Duryodhan, but we all are Duryodhan in some way or another. Yeah, it happens because the pull of our mind is very strong, right? It is like a drug addict. It gets rush, mellow, kick in things that it has done since time immemorial. So we have to break that habit through repeated contemplation. We spoke about how did the neural channels formed? Because we thought about it repeatedly, we practiced it repeatedly. So the way to break those channels is do the reverse chintan. No, this is not good for me. I earned so much. See, if with every kusang, somebody will take away 1 lakh from your bank balance, would you do that? No. Now there is something tangible in front of you that you know, hey, I'm losing it. But here, your spiritual wealth is not tangible to you. So we take our chances in life. So It's through repetition of knowledge, you can break that habit. And we all struggle with that for sure, Ashutosh ji. Radhe Radhe.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
And the Radhe Radhe. I
Sam
think
ji.
it's one is a simple like try to be humble. God likes humbleness. And second, you can say surrender yourself, surrender your intellect, surrender your mind, which mind itself is a part of the whole package. Intellect is a part of that one. So surrender your intellect, mind and intellect, and the God's grace is definite to come down to you. You love God.
Wonderful. Yep. Thank you, Samji. Beautiful. Let's quickly take. I saw Neetuji raise her hand as well. You're not allowed to take it down, okay, once you raise it. So that's against the rules of DWFBG.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. So I think the grace comes when we are ready. When the vessel is ready, God will send it. And he may be slow, but he's never late. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. So God is not slow. It's the speed. Our speed is slow, and he simply reciprocates. We will get into the next part. Now, are we saying God is partial towards people when it comes to bestowing grace? No, he's not. He's given a very simple rule, and we'll talk about it in our next sloka. He simply reciprocates. So with the material world, we might be second guessing about somebody. Is this guy reciprocating, or commensurating to, what I am giving that person back, or how much I am giving in this particular relation? We can second guess in case of, relationships around in this world. But in case of God, it's a very simple rule. He said that I'll reciprocate it exactly in the same amount, at the same moment, to the same proportion, and with the same intensity as you do. So yeah, we'll talk about that more. But beautiful point, Preeti ji. Thank you. Yes.
Bharti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji and everyone. I think like our mere survival is many things are happening for us to survive. Involuntarily also, all the systems and processes are happening without any contribution from our side. So for our survival, the entire universe is working in that way, doing our contribution, and a continuous remembrance along with that can attract God's grace.
Wonderful.
Being a Karma Yogi.
Beautiful. Yes. Karma Yoga is the stepping stone to actually start building that consciousness of keeping God in our mind in whatever we do. Beautiful point, RTG. Very nice. I can see Neetuji raising hand today. So yes, Neetuji, please go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Not able. Yeah, I was not able to do it. So thank you. I was just saying surrender. We have to purify our heart and thoughts and everything, and then total surrender to God.
Wonderful. Total surrender. Loved it. We will get deeper into that concept of surrender. What does it mean to surrender? Surrender is not like a garland. You say, I'm surrendered.
Yes, that's my question to you always. How do I know I'm surrendered? So we have to talk about that.
Okay, we can discuss that. It's a very deep concept for sure, and
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like a simple surrender. That.
Yes, I used to think the same, but I don't think so. So, yep. Thank you.
There is a technology around that as well. We will get into those concepts again.
Yes.
Real quick, I know we have a very nice. Now, the key thing is all these discussions that we have are great, and they're very inspiring, fulfilling as well. But what happens is they evaporate after a while. How do we remember that is the key. And a good sadhak, spiritual aspirant, Swamiji keeps on reiterating, even in his retreats, he does that. He will always have a copy pencil with them. Why? Because I'll tell you the concept around it. If you simply rely on slides or videos, it will have an imprint, which is good. But the moment you start verbalizing it yourself and write it down, when you jog your gray cells around that, it will have a lasting impact. Rupa Dhyan, why is it considered very important? It is called the pran, or the soul of sadhana or meditation. Even in material life, let's say you have to post a letter somewhere. Okay, you have to post a letter somewhere and you keep forgetting it. The best way to do that is to visualize yourself. All right, I'm carrying the letter. I took it from my pocket. That was the post office. Then I posted it. It will happen. So when you start visualizing things, you start actualizing it. And maintaining a journal where you're writing it in your own words, whatever you've understood, goes a long way in leaving those imprints, lasting imprints. And that is where we picked up a presentation. I really liked it. I'm looking forward to that. Anusha, let's look at some of the stuff that she has done. Maybe we can take one more participant and then we'll get to that. I want to give her.
You have raised.
Yeah.
So we have 5 more hands raised. Shall we take all or only one?
We can do that after the presentation, no worries. But I want to give her a fair amount of time. I think it will not take long just to see what she has come up with, and then we'll continue our discussion. Please fill out the feedback tracker in the meantime as well. Let me give it to Anusha. Has she been set up as a co-host as well? I want to give her at least good 5-10 minutes for her presentation, and then we'll continue our discussion.
Anusha, are you there? Anusha ji?
Anusha, you're there?
Anusha ji, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can see her and she's a co-host.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you're audible. Stop share, Anusha. It's all yours.
Okay.
Anusha, we are ready.
Is my screen visible?
Not yet. Yes, it's coming up now.
Okay. Radhe Radhe everyone. So today I wanted to talk about spiritual diary or journal. This is something that I've started from the last week of February and I found it really helpful. So I thought this is a nice opportunity to share it with everyone. Now the first question is, what is a spiritual diary or a journal? So I think it is anything that helps in our lifelong journey of being a devotee or a spiritual aspirant. So
sorry to interrupt, Anusha ji. Are you able to see her screen? Because I am not able to see.
Not able to share it.
Yeah, Anusha ji, sorry, we are not able to see your
Maybe
screen.
you are sharing an incorrect screen right now, Anusha. Yes, now we can. Now we can see that.
Okay. Now I'm in the screen of benefits. So is that visible?
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So these benefits are something that I actually figured out through my own experience, and I thought of sharing it with all of you here. Now, I've been attending the Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita classes from last 4 months. So we do discuss a lot of topics, and all the content and everything is there in the form of slides or YouTube videos. But I felt that it is always there, but it is not with me. So this is the first motivation for me to start journaling and taking notes of our classes every day. And another important aspect is that it also helps in revising the concepts so that these concepts are actually etched in our memory forever and we don't forget it and we always get it at the time we need it. And also another really important thing that we discuss is the Q&A section in our classes. So this has actually made me to think on areas that I really haven't thought about before. And so in this way, I'm able to connect myself at a deeper level. And also I'm being more self-aware of my thoughts and emotions so that I can actually guide myself better. And the most important thing about journaling is to discover your relationship with God. Now that we spoke about our benefits, maybe it's time for us to sneak peek into what this journal actually has. So this is my cover page of the journal. And in the beginning of 2022, Swamiji gave us a mantra, which is be good, do good, and feel good. And I really hope to live by it from now on. Now here in the, now for every month, I try to set up a calendar. So in this calendar that you see in the left page, there are a few boxes. Here I plan to put in the topic or the shloka that we discuss every day in our classes or through my personal reading so that I have a good overview of what I have done in this particular month. And then on the right hand side of the page, there is a Seva section. Now this Seva section, I have written it because it is something that helps, or it helps me to learn to give without expecting anything. So this is where I would like to develop. This is also one area of development for me. And then next is coming to the gratitude section. So this helps me to realize that God has given a number of graces, and always to be humble and not to crib about anything that I don't have. And the next section is the habits. So here, as a spiritual aspirant, we actually aspire to develop certain habits, such as like the meditation or the yoga that I have here on the left hand page. So this is like a daily log, and I come back and color these boxes saying that I practice this particular habit on this day. And then coming to questions, as a devotee, we always get a lot of questions, but it's not that our questions are unanswered or they go away from our mind. So it's a nice to actually write down those questions and keep them for our reference, so that we strive to get an answer to it. Then the next section that in the right hand page that we see is the revelation section. So this here, I try to make use of this to note down any experiences or observations that I have through my spiritual lens. Then I also said that I do take a lot of notes from the class, and this is one of the pages. Here is a Q&A from one of our classes, and I also try to note down all the points which everybody in the class shared, so that I have one cumulative answer for the question, along with my own thoughts or answers to that question. And then it's also really nice to have Swamiji's quotes in this journal, because they are really very inspiring. And that is what we see in the green box below. Then there's also one more snapshot of my journal, or the class, on the class of Swadharma. So I try to maintain, box up quotes or sentences that are really highlight a particular topic, like the way you see in the right hand page in the slide here. Then this is a very nice quick reference guide that I got from social media, where in Bhagavad Gita, they talk about a lot of topics like rage, jealousy, sorrow, etc. So whenever I want to read about anything, I can quickly come here, see which chapter or which Sloka talks about it, and give a good reading about it. Then this is also another snapshot from a class where we discussed about the creation and the lokas of Brahman. So thank you, everyone. This has been, hope it was a helpful presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anusha. Wish you could come on camera as well. I'm sure participants will have something to share about, beautiful chronicling of your this journal. It's pretty detailed, I would say. I think you're putting in a lot of thought and
perfect
creativity around that as well. So really wonderful. I'm sure it would have inspired a lot. So let's hear from some participants if they have around this, or any questions that they may have. But thank you so much, Anusha, for taking initiative on this. Anusha only reached out to me. She said I wanted to share it, and I'm so glad you took that initiative, Anusha. And thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure it will go a long way in inspiring a lot of participants, and the importance of journaling, how it does that. So kudos to you from my side, and thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Nitinji. I thought I was actually on video, but apparently didn't.
No worries. But we enjoyed your presentation. Really, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very systematic. And I think you're putting in a lot of thought, which is really, really, really commendable.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, we do have a few hands, so let's hear from participants. We have some time. In the meantime, please do take out time to fill out the feedback tracker, and let's hear from the participants what they have to say. Especially if you want to share something with Anusha and your journaling practice that you're doing. I'm telling you, this information will get evaporated. That's how our mind are, and I'm not saying that. Patanjali said that, Naradji says that. So we got to be mindful of keeping that knowledge bank intact as best as we possibly can. And journaling is one of the best way to do that. All right, Samji, you can call upon. I can see a few hands. So
Sorry, I was just lost. Yeah. Padma ji, Radhe Radhe.
Padma ji.
Such a beautiful, such a beautiful Jannat that she has written. I'm completely lost. So thank you very much, Anusha, for coming and then actually sharing those details. Many of us probably have a different structure and how they actually maintain, but looking at something which is so nicely composed gives us like more ideas and thought process and how to actually do it. On the journaling part, I want to say, and then I think I might have presented my own journaling piece probably in Ajay's class. And I said this is you are writing your own book. You're writing your book of weaknesses. You're writing your book of struggles. You're writing your books of self-realizations, and you're writing your books of where you really need to work on. Even though you start with that, there are so many things which come together when you actually write it, whether it's you're drafting on a Word document or writing on a piece of paper, whatever you're not able to answer yourself, but you're struggling for many, many years, you will magically see that those answers will transfer on that piece of paper while you're writing that. You might be writing something that you want to connect with your problem, but you actually see that answer, whatever you're written and how you're writing, will actually answer many of the other puzzles that you have in your life. So if this is not only for spiritual purpose, but at least if your mind is very, very disturbed with many, many things and you don't have answer for that, putting those things as a thought process will give you that channel and the medium to answer many of the other puzzles. That is my personal experience that I wanted to share. Other things that I wanted to comment about the session, should I reserve those or should I just go ahead and talk about those, Nitinji?
Sure, we can come back. Let's give others opportunity.
Yeah.
We can again come
I'll
back.
just be on hold.
Sure. Thank you, Padmaji. Let's hear from other participants as well. I see Premraj. Yeah, please go ahead.
Swatiji.
Yes, Swatiji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
She
Radhe.
made so beautiful journal. I liked it. And even I was thinking on this only, that what happens actually, we cannot remember everything all the time. And one day you said, no, it's like someday we get down. We don't get that feeling. Someday we are full with that feeling of the love for God.
Yep.
Because I had this same thing 2-3 days back. Like I was feeling low, no feeling. I said, what happened? Like daily I'm feeling very much excited for God. And so someday, like I heard from you or somewhere in the lecture that it's all prarabdha, that sometimes you are low, sometimes you are high. It's all your back load only that's giving you up and down. So that time I was feeling that how should I make myself uplift? So this is the journal which will, if I keep on reading, I will keep on listening, then I will again get motivated that day, which was I was feeling low. So I like this very much. And that time we tend to forget our knowledge also at right time to apply the right thing. So this will keep in our mind that no, I have to, my goal is for God realization. I should not get in this material world back. I have to go ahead. So this thing, if you keep on writing and if you keep on reading, that day we will get motivated, and so the next day again will be normal.
Very true.
So this is very helpful.
This is a very wonderful. Thank you so much, Swatiji. It's a very great point you brought about. Actually, the biggest benefit of journaling is that when your sanskars, which are not cooperating with you, when you have to swim against the tide, then you have to remind yourself what inspired you to begin with. And that's where the journaling, those moments that you have captured, will bring you back on track quickly. It is very, very beneficial. Swamiji has told the same. And in fact, I have seen him, when he used to go to Shri Maharajji, he would write vigorously, every word. And now we have a benefit of technology where we can see things, we can hear it in audio, see it in video. He didn't have that. So journaling is one of the very, very important things on this path, and we should really take advantage from it. Okay, let's hear. Quite a few other hands are raised as well.
Premraj, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Premraj. So we spoke about Mr. Modi yesterday. Any thoughts around after the discussion we had today?
Exactly, sir. The journal was really excellent. It has broadened my view. Thank you, ma'am, for having presented your journal. I hope she's there in the line.
Yes, we have Anusha.
Okay. I also maintain it. I'm also maintaining it. And the only thing is, I just take down the points, even what we discussed yesterday and what we are discussing now also. I'm just taking it in the form of notes. So throughout the day, whenever I get time, I used to go through it. This is what I've been doing. And the yesterday's point, which I said, the questions, normally I don't write the questions or put it on the papers, but it'll be running behind my mind. So in due course of time, somehow or other, I get the answer because I meditate and I'm a yoga practitioner also.
Wonderful.
In due course of time, I get answers. I don't know how, but I get answers intuitively. This is what I have been doing. And today she has broadened my view by simply presenting a journal. Now I will do it in a more sophisticated way. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you so much, Nitinji, sir.
Thank you so very much. And kudos to Anusha for bringing it up. See, you have inspired so many, and I'm sure there are a lot of participants are going to benefit from this practice now. So great job.
Who has? Shall we take it?
Yeah, sure.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone, and thank you, Anisha ji. Actually, I just started writing the gist of every class since one week, and I think a couple of days I've WhatsApp to Nitin ji also saying that it's a gist of today's class like that. But I couldn't make it in a refined way, so now you gave me a good presentation so that I can implement this and do a better thing. Thank you so much, Anisha ji.
Thank you, Lakshmi ji, for sharing that. I'm glad you started with this practice. You will love it, as you go along. So, and you can take benefit from some apps as well. There's a app called Journey where you can start documenting it. Or if you like to write, you can maintain your own diary. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. But there are tools available in this technology world, so you could leverage those as well if you want. Okay, let's hear from others as well.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Anusha she did a very good job. I think it generally is a very good idea, and I'm not a very adept at that. But I want to know. I think I brought this question also to Ajay's class also. I do use the OneNote, Microsoft OneNote notebook, and make a journal out of that. But I'm looking for some kind of template in case somebody knows it, so that some kind of different templates which are geared towards the OneNote notebook. They have the sections, they have the pages, so that instead of having so many physical copy notebooks or physical something or some kind of different apps, journaling app or something like that, anybody knows anything? I did ask, but I didn't get any proper answer. Anybody knows it? I'll request in case somebody have any idea which can fit into the kind of OneNote, something like that.
I'm sure we have a lot of tech savvy people here. I mean, I'm also a technologist, but a misfit for sure. Somebody should have an answer how to organize OneNote, Samji. So I'm sure you'll get some help around that. I used to joke around. I never used to take notes. I will just simply sit in the class and focus what is being told. And people who would maintain a lot of notes, I will go to them and say, I'm not as notorious as you are. Okay. But now Bhagavad Gita has started pushing me towards making notes, because now whenever I listen a lecture, I make a lot of notes now. And I've got some folks who have expressed their interest in doing seva along with me, and the first thing I've told them, start taking notes. So become notorious if you are not. It really helps, trust me. I'm learning it actually every day. I do that now. Every lecture that I see, I start making notes, and that helps me remember it and pull out that knowledge when it is needed. Lot of that credit goes to the fact that those were taken down in notes. That really helps. You can try that out. Okay, you can take the remaining participants real quick.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. So I was going to talk something else, but I think I have to talk about Anusha ji's journal. I also have a journal, nothing as beautiful as what she has. Very nice handwriting. My handwriting sometimes when I write it, when I listen and write, I have to write real fast, so my handwriting is really bad. So when I kind of initially take some rough notes and then put it again, in a if I have to understand it, right? Sometimes I don't even understand what I have written. But anyway, I'm very jealous, and I'm happy that I'm jealous only because it's in the zone of spirituality. So, but there are some things which are there I need to follow up on.
envious would be the right word in that.
Envious, okay. Envious. Yep, thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Kumarji. So here you go, Anusha. Somebody's envious of you already. So good job, I would say. But in a good way. So yeah, I think you can actually, you're dovetailing it towards spirituality, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Siva ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Siva ji.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Anusha ji, very nice journaling, and I liked your pictorial messages and different emotions that you can easily access from different Bhagavad Gita shlokas. That makes it very convenient to quickly get to them. When I read a book, that's what I do. I like the annotations because the more senses we engage, the better and deeper neuroplasticity and remembrance that we have. And that's why it's a good idea to do note taking along with the and making annotations, just your thoughts, so that when you go back later on, even 6 months, a year later, you realize you still have the same thoughts, or you have progressed, or you had accurate thoughts of spirituality even back then. So thank you.
Great point, Seema ji. In fact, you are baselining your thoughts as well. I didn't think of it that way. So you would see, as maybe as the time passes, those thoughts will start evolving as well. When you reflect back on what I wrote, and what I think about the same situation might actually vary. And that might give you a good yardstick to see whether, you know, how much you have progressed, how far you have come back from that. Great way, Seema ji, great point. And think of it that way. Yeah, and like Padmaji had said, right, it always helps to label your emotions or thoughts, what you think about it. That also helps. Sometimes giving an identification itself is a good stepping stone to actually tackling it. Great point. Let's quickly hear from Rupaji, I see, and then we have Artiji and Padmaji as well.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Actually, very good presentation, Anusha, and your journal is very, very beautiful. You just made me remember about my college days. Like I used to take running notes in the class, like how Mr. Kumarji said that even I used to scribble it. After coming home, I used to make it note, even that running notes to be very mannered way. And I used to, then later on, I practiced it with 3 or 4 colors of pens, and I used to make note of every point, whichever lecture I attend. So I just remembered everything. Even I used to decorate, maybe not that beautiful as yours, but I just remembered that. And making a journal, prior I used to have my own personal diary. I used to write from my childhood, but later on in ages, like after a few years, maybe since 10 or 15 years, I stopped writing it. I don't know why I stopped it. I used to feel happy whenever I used to write about myself or something. But sometimes I stopped it now. We are into such a mechanical life, not getting time even to spend that 10 minutes to write about my own things or daily work. Yeah, now you made me remember that even I should start practicing of this Bhagavad Gita points, making it like, yeah, like how everyone said that we may not remember it. See, now today class we attended, maybe after a few days, if you just go back, on the day we had some session, we had some discussion. I don't know what was that. We will land in such situation. It's better to make a journal, like maybe not beautiful as yours, but sure, I'll start making a journal now for Bhagavad Gita. Thanks for inspiring us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupaji. I think if you start remembering a lot of it, it will make my job difficult for sure. Then you will say, hey, by the way, you actually showed us on 17th of Feb at 9:52 p.m. in 2021. Okay, so if you can remember to that extent, I think that will be really good. Another flip side of journaling, as I can see, I think we have to hit the sweet spot there as well, is some of my friends, as I see them, which basically deterred me from journaling previously, was the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So without grasping it, they are vigorously typing only. So we have to really take a judicious call around it. How much we are grasping, that is more important. and then penning it down as well, the key points out of it. So if we simply keep on doing that, like a lot of people, they have that habit of writing everything down that the professor is saying, like in my college, and then losing out on the import basically during that as well, right? So we have to strike that balance. That is very important. In these sessions, I think you can summarize it for yourself. That's the best way forward. And anyway, you get notes from time to time, right? So yeah, that is an aspect we have to guard against, especially in things that really interest us, because you have to get that real crux of that thing is something we need to focus on, as opposed to writing down everything, because we can get into that mindset as well. Yes, let's hear from a few more participants. I know we are a little over time. Shyamji, is it okay with you?
Yes, fine.
Okay, let's take up a few more participants.
Peterji,
you are unmuted already.
Shruti ji, Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji, Radhe Radhe Nitin, and Anusha, it was a beautiful presentation. I mean, journal that you have maintained, and one thing that I really liked was the sticky notes that you have made about the greed and the sorrow, whichever section we are doing that day, and you have written the shloka number. So whenever you need to refer to what your what you want to read about or what you're feeling at that day, you just want to refer to that and not go through the whole book. That was really really nice. I really liked that point. Otherwise, overall, it was a really nice way of really organized way you have journaled. And there's one thing, Nitin, I would like to ask. Padmaji said that you have to write the emotions. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead. We can hear.
Okay. You have to you have to label the emotion when you're journaling. You have to label the journal, like label the emotion in the journal. What does that mean? Like, what sort of emotion? Like, I don't get that completely.
We can have Padmaji answer that question for you. Maybe we'll reserve that for the last, Shruti, your question. And let's quickly take Artiji, and then Padmaji can answer your question and much more as well.
Okay, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Artiji, Radhe Radhe.
Voice is breaking, Artiji.
Very beautiful notes, informative, organized, and inspiring also. I always wanted to do that, but every day, next day I will start, and it is so attractive also, and I would like to do that. As the children used to say to parents, the more involvement they put in their knowledge, the more they will be learned. Like it is seen in research, certain research findings. Never one learns.
Artiji, your voice is not audible. There is some problem with your audio. You may want to fix that. Let's hear from Padmaji in the meantime.
Radhe Radhe, I'll take the Shrutiji's question and then I'll give this input. Just for the simplicity purpose, I'll make it very relevant to her if it's okay with her. So I heard her story the other day, and they were really 2 or 3 very touching things that happened in her life, and that was really, how I say, very painful, right? So what do I mean by giving a label? When you give a verbatim or a language to what is that you're going through, like for example, somebody has cheated you in the business or the money, then you really have to dig deeper, whether you want to connect that with the Bhagavad Gita sloka, or you contemplate upon yourself and say, what is the thing which is really hurting me? Is it that this person has cheated me financially? Or is it that I was financially cheated? Is it that I trusted this person so much? And so you really have to dig deeper, and then you will come to a point where you're emotionally know an answer. I'm really upset at this person because this is this time that I really did not expect this to happen. I really did not expect this person to happen. When you give that verbatim or an emotion or that instant an emotion of whatever that is, then you can go back to Bhagavad Gita, whatever sloka which you were able to connect and say, you know what, I struggled on this particular crossroads and I was never able to give a closure. And closure is really important to the struggles that we go through in life, whatever the situation, if it is a financial loss or a personal loss or a marriage loss or a child loss or somebody died, or you're not feeling well, or your health is not doing well. You have to give certain kind of closure, and that closure will only come from the spiritual perspective, and those answers you will find probably 2.47, 3.46, whatever that reference point is. Then you will give a closure to that coming from your self-realization. So that is what I meant by giving a language to that emotion that you have towards that particular situation, or the emotion that you really have towards that particular instant. And many times in relationships also, we have so much going on in our minds, and unless we say it in the words that we really feeling, what we are saying probably is not what we really feeling. So giving that a power to the words of what you're really thinking is journaling, that you're giving the power to your thoughts, that you're not able to convince your mind what is that I'm truly feeling, is what that freedom and liberation which gives you when you actually journal it. You're translating your emotions, confused emotions, into a translation of words that you can go back and relate to and say, yes, I see where the problem is. Now I see a reference in Bhagavad Gita. Now I know that how to work on it.
Wonderful, Padmaji. I think you were downloading it right from Brahmand. It almost seemed like that, but beautiful point. I love the fact that you said that first of all, we have to get to the root of it, right? What is truly causing? Is it the trust that was broken? Is it the financial loss? Is it a mixture of both? Identifying that is important, right? And then the second aspect, you said, take it to a closure, because if you don't take it to a closure, you have already created a reason for another birth to close that thread. And then another life, some other thread will open up, and then we have to close it. So this kind of thing will continue forever. It's important to take that to closure and let go of that and see it in perspective. It's very, very important. And all the spiritual tools actually will enable that, to see it in perspective. In fact, if we truly go by the concept of spirituality, material reversals are actually God's grace. We think God's grace is Sukh Sampatti Ghar Aave, Kasht Mite Tanka. No. When material reversals start happening, that means God has started gracing us, because that is the only way we will be shaken out of our comfort zone for something higher, bigger, better, and more worthy. Otherwise, we are too happy playing that game of life, too happy being on Snapchat and WhatsApp and everywhere, and we just want to enjoy life. So it may not be a bad thing in that way. Actually, yes, real quick.
Can I just add two things, and then I will hold it, if
Yeah,
tomorrow.
real quick, Padmaji, we have a few more hands, so really quick if you can.
Yeah. So about the journaling itself, what you have realized, I do this. If my house is not the house, apartment is all like a notes or something, those realizations that you have gone through, not a to-do list of what happens, right? To-do list is important, right? These are the tools that we need for 2.7. These are the things, there is a lot of messages on the portal, all that. But what you have connected with and your self-realization, once you realize it's not over, the work just begins when you actually self-realized. When you make a to-do list of million things, do this, it's not going to help. When you realize something, and that is your self-realization on your time, your space, your situation, your environment, make that small thing your daily vitamin, that you need to look at that vitamin every single morning before you step out. Those realizations, look at them every single morning. These are my realizations, because those are your connections. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Padmaji. That's what. I'm sure, Shruti, you can benefit a lot from Padmaji's. You can interact with her, get some more specific tool sets around that. And Padmaji will be more than happy to help you out with that. Let's quickly take, do we have Shyamji time? I know we are way over, like always. I can take maybe if you have time, otherwise it's your call.
Yes. Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Jyoti ji.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to say thanks to all of you because here is the platform where I have learned a lot. I mean, I'm still at the beginning, but and there are few things I'm trying to understand. First of all, my question is what do you all when you all say that spirituality, I don't really understand what that means. And second thing, sometimes we know that okay, things are whatever things are happening in our life, it will make us stronger, and we by God wish everything will get better with time. But sometimes it's really difficult to let go of things, or sometimes it's really difficult to because there are some people who are a little bit emotional. So how to manage all those things, and how can we connect to higher self, and what does spirituality mean
So
to
Jyoti,
all of you?
fill up the attendance tracker. We can have a primer with you, a customized individual primer for you, because we've been discussing these concepts for a while. It's not a 2-minute conversation for sure, but we will build on it. Keep attending our sessions, but I'll be happy to give you a quick call and get over some of the stuff, just so that we can start gaining momentum as we go along. But like I said, we discussed these concepts in detail, but I'm happy to have a personal conversation with you given your time availability, and get that going, basically, at least from what is spirituality, what we are discussing, and some of the questions that you may have. Hopefully a bit of a start, and then we will build on each other. We have, like you will have seen, wonderful set of participants, willing to help each other. We are all walking each other home. If you continue attending these sessions, a lot of your doubts will keep on getting resolved. I'm very sure about that. Thank you, Jyoti ji. Where are you joining us from? Okay, maybe if you can fill out the attendance tracker, we can continue this conversation. Last one, I can see one more hand. Anshumanji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, a very nice discussion, and spiritual journaling is a very important tool which can help us to monitor and progress towards God. And I think very nice presentation and the discussion. I wanted to share a few slides. I know time is not there, maybe some other time. I think journaling is very important, and there are some practical tips which I thought may benefit some of the participants. I think there are some questions regarding templates. Yeah.
Plan for a formal presentation if you want to plan for that. I know you'll be very thorough, and will not be doing you a justice if you give you a couple of minutes. So would you be open to present your journaling in one of the sessions?
Actually, it will not take much time, maybe 2-3 minutes or so. I can compress it, but then if time is not there, maybe some other time, whenever it is feasible. It's not something very organized, but yeah.
Sure, go ahead. I think we maybe have, but I want a full house so that they all can benefit, from what you have to share.
All right. So can you share? Give me the host, right? I'll share the screen if it is possible.
I cannot make you host. I don't have those privileges for some reason. Anybody can? Hold on, let me check again. I cannot for some reason. Shamji, do you have those privileges? As a co-host, I cannot. Maybe the host only can do that, and host has decided. Yeah, I don't have that. Anshumanji, if you have
no issues, maybe it's a signal that this is not the right time. Maybe next time I will share. If it is possible, I can share right away.
Yeah, I don't have that, unfortunately, but I look forward to that, Anshumanji. If you need maybe 5 minutes, a formal presentation when we have everybody, I think that will go a long way for sure. So I look forward to that.
Right.
Let me know. We can work that out.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, so let's do our closing prayers. If you are willing to do that, let's do that. You can unmute yourself or raise your hand. We can do it together. And tomorrow we will continue discussion. Tomorrow we're going to discuss, by the way, moksha and divine love, because Lord Krishna, in this particular shloka, the divine love word came. So let's talk about that concept, because this is an often misunderstood concept. What is moksha, what is divine love, what is the difference, are they both the same, and stuff like that. So we'll discuss a little bit tomorrow on that. So let's do our closing prayers now.
We have some announcements, bhai. Please fill in the feedback already there. And also we have Holy Kadhan at the Architecture Temple on 17th. Please do come there. And also we have a mega event on 19th of this month with Bollywood singers. And also we have a family camp coming up the month of June. So who all are there? Dallas can come there. As Nitin Bhai has sponsored me to be there. So I'll be joining there. And Radhe Radhe. And then we'll do a project list tonight. So we have four hands raised: Sandhya, Hetal, Venkatji, and Padmaji, Riyaji also. So
Yeah,
we'll do the project.
Completely missed that part for some reason. Yes, we do have family camp 24th to 30th. If any one of you wants to accompany Shamji, as you know, I'll be more than happy to host you, sponsor you as well. So do write to me, do let me know. And I look forward to seeing you. 24th to 30th June is something you would really want to be here in Dallas. Okay.
Yes, I'm sure. Please, people do come and join there. We'll have a good time there.
Yeah, you can see me and Shamji dancing, and doing those nature trails. So it's going to be really, really fun there. Okay, and we have Holika Dahan coming up. I think there will be virtual stuff as well, and we have Holi coming up as well. With Harry Anand and Shal Mali, whatever Golpadi. Okay, so if you are around Dallas, do make it that day. There's going to be an out and out fun event. All right, let's do our closing prayers for the day then. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve
Santu Niramayaः Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukhabhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. Have a good rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your evening. I'll see you tomorrow with another. By the way, I wanted to let you know, give you a heads up that this Thursday and Friday will not have our sessions. That is Friday and Saturday India time, because we have Holika Dahan and some preparation for Holi going on. But I will reiterate it tomorrow so that then we can resume it next week. I know it's a bit of a gap. So just wanted to give you a heads up around that. Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you.